Weirdos Food, the food history podcast, where we podcast about the history of fruitcake, a cake that has the density of uranium and probably also shares uranium's half-life, which is roughly 4.5 billion years. I'm your host, Tim, and with me, as always, is your other host.
What's up, you guys? I'm Elle.
Elle?
Just shaking my head.
Yeah, how you feel about fruitcake?
I'm shaking my head in utter disappointment. I hope I need to pull up the quote that I sent you. A fruitcake is an abomination to the words fruit and cake.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's what I tried it one time because I thought, people can be like fake annoying about foods because they're like, oh my gosh, like it's so bad, like it's terrible, you should never have it. And I'm like, you're just being annoying because it's just like that's a thing that people say. So I think I tried fruitcake just out of the pure like, okay, I'm gonna prove you guys wrong. And I was like, oh no, wait, no, you guys knew.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah.
What about you, Tim?
Well, I was looking for some fruit. I was looking for some fruitcake at the stores recently.
Oh.
Because I knew we were going to record this episode because I wanted to. It's been a while since I've had it, and I was wanting to try it again.
Sure.
To just refresh my memory, but I couldn't find any, and my feeling about fruitcake. Okay, I'm biased now because I truly think that by the end of this, you are going to have a new perspective on fruitcake.
Okay, challenge accepted. Okay.
And if you were to ask, I'm gonna answer this as if before I did the research. No, I agree. Fruitcake is like, I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be.
Sure.
But it's not good, which makes it that makes it confusing why it's a thing. You know what I mean?
Yes. Like, I think that's a great way of putting that. It's not good. So why do we do this every year?
So why are we wasting our time with that? Fun fact about fruitcake, it contains roughly 70% nuts and dried fruits and or candied fruits. Roughly 70%, give or take. So on a scale from 1 to 70 Christmas lights, what do you rank fruitcake?
10 Christmas lights.
10 Christmas lights on a scale from 1 to 70 Christmas lights.
Yes.
Sounds good.
You've got a lot of room to grow, though, which is great. I think.
We got 10. Yeah, we could probably beat 10. All right, so let's get stuck into the history of fruitcake. Hey guys, welcome to the ad section. I'm here to tell you real quick about Anchor by Spotify. You may have heard us talk about Anchor at the end of our episodes, is because Anchor is the platform we use to distribute our podcasts. It's totally free. It helps us distribute our podcasts to different platforms. That's how we're on Apple Podcasts. That's how we're on Google Podcasts, CastBox, you name it. They've helped us do that. You can record directly on the app, on the webpage. So you don't even need a super fancy setup. It's super straightforward, totally free. So download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started on your podcast or whatever you like to do. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of the episode.
You were the ones that sent me the fruitcake for Christmas. It made me so sick.
Oh, I'm sorry. We thought you enjoyed fruitcake.
What exactly is fruitcake, and why would we do this? So it's typically a pastry, bread, or cake that is super jammed packed, full of dried fruits, candied fruits, roasted nuts, and can be soaked in alcohol.
Oh.
Now, some might say that it is traditionally soaked in alcohol.
Oh.
Which is a thing that I did not fucking realize.
No, I had no clue.
And would make that travesty of a cake 10 times more enjoyable. Because, fun fact about fruitcake sold in stores, Elle, they don't have the fucking alcohol.
Well, that changes everything, Tim. I feel like that changes everything.
Changes the whole fucking thing. Changes every bit of it.
The game has changed.
Makes it virtually a different product.
Yes, it's a completely different product.
If someone came up to me and was like, hey, do you know that we sell like rum cake? I'd be like, wow, that sounds really good. And they're like, Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the commercial version with no rum.
No.
I'd be like, well, that's fucking dumb. So
Yes.
So typically, like I said, and I will say, notice I said pastry, bread, or cake.
Yes.
We're going to talk about some varieties that are just pretty much breads.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, fruited and nutted breads
Ooh.
that kind of get underneath the umbrella of what a fruitcake is, essentially. But don't worry, we'll talk plenty about our version and what we know to be the fruitcake that you would see. And like more foods than some might suspect, food historians trace it back to ancient Rome.
Oh, no way. Wow.
The Romans
Why?
making their way back. It's been a hot
been a
minute.
while.
We haven't talked about the Romans in
Wow.
I bet about 2 seasons.
Hello?
Yeah.
Is it me? Yes. Yes, it is. Where have you been?
Yeah,
Where have y'all been?
They've
Wow. Welcome back.
I know, man. I felt like there was a point in season 1 and 2 where it was just like the Romans every other episode. But the Romans are back, and they baked a ring-shaped confection that had pomegranate seeds, raisins, pine nuts, and barley mash, and that was known as Satura, not Zathura,
Oh my
not the movie
gosh.
Zathura.
Why did you do that?
Satura.
Why did you do that?
And it's believed that Satura was used as like a nutrient-dense ration for soldiers going into war.
Okay. Makes sense.
Right, because you have all that. Again, you have pine nuts, raisins.
Yeah.
You got, all this dried fruit and nuts and barley mash, all this
Barley
shit
is
that,
definitely hearty for sure.
yeah, it's got all that fiber and carb in it, shit that makes you feel full. But during the late 5th century, all the way to the late 15th century, aka the Middle Ages, is when we would see the fruitcake develop into something closer that we're used to seeing. During this time, honey, spices, candied fruits, those things became more popular and more available during those good times known as the Crusades. Maybe you heard of them.
Heck, yeah.
Yeah, that increased trade between the Mediterranean and Europe because those were the two factions that were fighting each other. This isn't a Crusades history podcast, so if you want to learn more about those, check out the show notes. There's some. I linked some of those there because I had to learn about the Crusades for this to have an idea
Sure.
of what was going on. Because you hear about them, but I knew virtually almost nothing about the Crusades.
I
So,
vaguely remember maybe learning about that in school. Like, it sounds
Yeah.
familiar, but it's like, oh yeah, did we just kind of all learn it like that? Yeah.
Yeah. But during that time, trade began to happen. And that's when you started to see like honey and spices, candy fruit. Those things started to get to Europe, things like that. And just around the globe, you know what I mean? You got the Mediterranean and Europe kind of going back and forth. So that's where all that comes from. And then further expansion came after the Crusades with the growth of the British Empire.
Of course.
Yeah, we love the British Empire around here. Fantastic. So again, I believe the Crusades were started in the 11th century, and then the British Empire started growing around the 15th century.
Wow.
So give you an idea about
I
where
can't
all
even
this is
fathom
going on.
that time.
Yeah, and you're looking at like the Renaissance period around the late 15th century, right? So just in general, a lot of growth.
There's a
going
lot
on
of
around there.
there's a lot of things happening.
A lot of imperialism. So let's talk about fruitcake around the world. After the British Empire was going around, a lot of different types of fruitcakes would emerge. Italy had its own version made with honey and pepper, dried figs, jam, and pine nuts.
Okay.
It was called panforte, or if I were to do my best Italy accent, panaforte.
Pianoforte.
And that dates back to the 13th century. Panaforte translates to strong bread.
That's fun. Okay. It sounds pretty good,
yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Fruitcake, just it's hearty, and it's war rations or it's strong bread. That's what you need to know.
Both.
So Germany has a rendition known as Stalin, not Joseph.
Wow. Okay.
It's spelled Stollen, but if you were to pronounce that in the pronunciation
Sure.
by Germans, it's Stalin. So yeah, that has been consumed since the 1400s.
Oh, okay.
And early versions of Stalin were Actually, they didn't have butter or oil in them at all.
Oh.
They were this very bland, dry, like not biscuit, but like just this dry piece of bread, essentially.
No, thank you.
And that was due to a ban on butter.
Oh.
Because fun fact about that is they were Saxons at the time.
Ah,
so
okay.
they participated in fasting in the Advent. So you weren't allowed to have butter or fat or anything. It's too rich, too dense.
Okay.
For fasting. During that time, Prince Elector Ernst and his brother Duke Albrecht, they wrote a letter to Pope Nicholas V. And Pope Nicholas said, "Fuck no."
Absolutely not. Thank you.
Yeah. He was like, no, you guys, no, it's still banned. They wrote a letter saying that they needed to use butter and oil because they couldn't get oil and butter in general because of how expensive it was. So they wanted it to be lifted so they could actually get it and use it for baked goods and stuff. And Pope Nicholas was like, nah, kid. And it wasn't until 5 popes later.
Wow, that's
5 popes
I feel like that's a long
later
time.
that Pope Innocent VIII did away with the butter ban.
Good for him.
Sort of.
Just kidding. Okay.
So in his letter to the Prince Elector, different Prince Elector at this time, because again, 5 popes later. It was known as the butter letter, by the way. Fun fact.
I love that so much. Okay. I'm going to write people butter letters now.
Yeah. Pope Innocent VIII said there would be no fine for the use of butter or oil for the prince and his family, but everyone else would still have to pay a tariff to help pay for the building of the University of Freiburg Minster.
What?
Yeah. Incredible.
Hustling.
Yeah, it wouldn't be until Saxony became Protestant, essentially. Saxony, Germany became Protestant, that the butter ban would truly be gone. So just a little backstory into Stalin and its journey to being a bland bread to this fruited nut bread that is today, all because of the Protestants. So the Caribbean islands have a recipe known as black cake.
Ooh. Okay.
So we might do an episode on black cake.
Okay.
Because
I'm interested. You're in my attention.
The history was a little dense. That was a little bakery joke.
Move so far away from my mic.
I didn't put a lot of the history down just because it seemed like there was some depth to it. But I will talk about it. And the black cake, it's similar to plum/figgy pudding. Except the fruits can be soaked up to a year in rum and port wine.
Wow, that's a very long time.
Yeah. Like I said, this seems to have a lot of history around it, just in general. So for now, that's all I'm really going to say is that it seems to be a descendant of like plum and figgy pudding from Britain.
Okay.
I'm going to read off a recipe for a black cake recipe. And this bad boy might be getting made soon.
Okay. Intrigued.
You take a macerated fruit blend of cherries, prunes, currants, raisins, and peel mix. Peel mix is what's traditionally used in a fruit cake.
Okay.
You know, those like candied green and orange and you know what I mean? Like all that stuff. That's like a peel mix. Yeah, so you macerate all that and then you soak that in rum and port wine.
Ooh, okay.
The batter gets lemon, orange zest, vanilla and almond extract.
Yes.
It gets mixed essence. Yeah, it gets mixed essence, which is an extract used in Caribbean baked goods. It gets cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, and clove, as well as like, a bunch of fucking eggs, some butter, some milk, and then that fruit blend. For the sugar in this recipe, they use a method with brown sugar and port wine where you cook the brown sugar until it's really dark brown. And then you mix that with port wine.
Yes.
And that's called burnt sugar. That's what they call it, burnt sugar. Yeah. I'm going to leave that recipe in the show notes if you guys want to check that out and maybe make it. It looks fucking
That
phenomenal.
sounds phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds so goddamn good. The citrus, the alcohol, the different, fruits in it just sounds fantastic. So that will be on my short list of recipes to do. Romania makes a similar fruited and nutted swirl bread called Kozanak.
That
They make it around the holidays.
I didn't expect Romania on this list. Okay.
It's got like a little swirl.
That's fun.
And it's just like almost like a fruited like nut jam that gets swirled in there.
Okay.
It looks phenomenal. It looks really good.
That sounds fabulous.
So Romania does a thing. Portugal has a fruitcake known as bolo rei, also known as king cake.
Okay.
And each cake has a single fava bean in it, and whoever gets the bean gets a prize.
Hey.
So isn't that fun?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. And the Britons, they have plum and figgy pudding.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, plum and figgy pudding by the end of the 16th century. That's what they are making. And this recipe is real similar to what we Americans know to be fruitcake.
Of course.
But instead of being baked, it's typically molded and steamed or boiled. Yeah, very weird.
Absolutely not, dude.
It gets a nice flambe.
Okay. All right.
For fun.
Okay.
Yeah, so they pour some alcohol on it and they flambe it. Also, the term pudding in Britain gets used a lot. There's Yorkshire puddings, things like that. Apparently, pudding is, in today's age, it's pretty close to what we would consider dessert, roughly. I don't know. They call it plum and or figgy pudding. As far as I could tell, plums weren't ever used in it. So I don't know. Don't ask me. So let's talk about fruitcake as it was meant to be.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Yeah, fruitcake underwent another change once colonization happened in the Americas. Sugar became more readily available, which saw more sugar being added to figgy pudding. And since candied fruits were used for the longer travels between the two big land masses, they also found their way into the dish. So, candied fruits weren't always used, but they started to get used during that time period because they became more of a necessity for travel. Sure. So it's like, hey, we got this thing that we need to use. Yeah, and this is also when the act of soaking the fruitcakes in alcohol became a tradition. You take rags and you dip them in alcohol and you wrap the fruitcake with the alcohol.
Oh, okay.
And that is the birth of the terrifying fruitcake that you think of when I say the word fruitcake.
That is wild to me.
Yeah, it's pretty much a baked figgy pudding with more sugar and alcohol.
The alcohol, I feel like the alcohol is an important component to this.
Yeah, so before we get into that, because I will touch on that, let's talk about why fruitcake is a holiday tradition.
Yes, I would actually, I'm curious to know about this.
Yeah, why the fuck? And that may just be because it was at the time considered a decadent treat.
Okay.
Decadent treats just found a way to only be consumed during celebratory times, right? Like,
sure.
It's expensive.
Ingredients.
We're not going to make this all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of unsatisfying because there isn't like a hard, this is when we did it. But we also know it was consumed around weddings.
Okay.
Again, because of how expensive it was. Now, as for the Christmas thing, we believe that's because it became connected to Yuletide by the Victorian era, which, if you didn't know, the Victorian era helped establish a lot of the traditional Christmas stuff that we do. Okay. Just like the general vibe of Christmas kind of was developed around this time. The Victorians, they loved fruitcake, so much so that Queen Victoria and Prince Albert had it at their wedding.
Oh, they were committed like that. Got it.
Yeah, what a bold choice.
Very bold.
And a slice of that fruitcake was sold at an auction in 2016 for £1,500.
No, pause.
Or, if you're an American, $1,778.
Yeah, because I definitely didn't know what that conversion was, so I do appreciate you answering that. So a fruitcake allegedly from a wedding
1800s.
From the 1800s.
Yep. Slice of that sold for $1,700, almost $1,800 in 2016.
Okay, I'm not going to criticize anyone for making deals, but okay, if that's what you choose to do,
man,
that is what you choose.
Again,
to do.
it's got that again, it's got the half-life of uranium. 4.5 billion years the shit can last. I'm not convinced fruitcake goes bad.
I don't know. I guess not. I guess not.
Yeah. Also to note that fruitcake was served at Princess Diana and Prince Charles's wedding in 1981, and in the Kate Middleton and Prince William's 2011 wedding.
So it's just in the family? Question mark? Is that just?
I think it's just kind of tradition to have it at weddings now. I don't necessarily think it's that loved anymore. Elle, what's with all the fucking booze?
Tim, I don't know.
Okay.
Tell me. I'm
What do we
curious
got-
about it. Yeah.
Why do we got all this fucking
Why are
booze
we-
going around?
I mean, I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, the fruitcake sold in stores that we all know and loathe. It doesn't get made with booze,
Yeah.
which is a bummer.
News to me today. I literally learned that now. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, but booze is used in a lot of fruitcake recipes, as I've mentioned, as well tonight. And traditionally, the baked fruitcake gets aged. It gets fucking aged by soaking it with whiskey or rum periodically over a
Get
series of
outta
weeks
here.
or months. Some even say up to a year.
A year?
Yes, allowing it not only to stay moist, but also to season it, which just means to like mellow out the tannins from that like bitter peel mix and shit. But also that alcohol keeps it from spoiling. Yeah.
I'm
So
mind blown
fruitcake-
right now. Okay. All right, Tim.
Traditionally aged so it tastes better. And also that alcohol keeps it from spoiling. How does alcohol stop it from spoiling?
Yeah.
Well, to talk about that, it's time for Science Time! So, protein molecules are nicely organized structures. And in biology, there is a process that modifies the molecular structure of those proteins. And it does so by breaking those bonds that are responsible for that organization. And that process is called denaturation or denaturation, however you want to fucking say it. And we can cause denaturation with the use of heat, a pH change, meaning making it more acidic or more basic, and even extreme agitation. So we can actually break protein downs by just shaking them
ew.
real fucking good. You know what I mean? Yeah, just give them a good old fucking shake, and it'll break down some of those. And denaturation happens in a lot of cooking. It's kind of what we're doing when we cook food. We're breaking down proteins. It also happens when you munch on shit.
Oh,
the
yeah.
saliva in your mouth starts the process of that. Starts to help break down some of that stuff, and then your stomach acid does the rest, right? Like
Right.
this is a part of biology and chemistry. This is what happens. A thing you can think of is an egg white becoming opaque when you cook it, right? Like that's a denaturation of the proteins in that clear egg white becoming opaque. And
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
it changes it fundamentally. And it just so happens that when bacteria have a party with alcohol, they can die
Sing.
due to denaturation. Bacteria can die. It's the same thing that happens when you put hand sanitizer on your hands. The alcohol kills the germs and the bacteria on your hands by destroying the microbe in the protein
Wow.
molecule.
Okay.
Science!
I didn't.
Um,
When we had fruitcake episode, I didn't realize that we'd be hitting science time as well with this. This has been fantastic. Okay.
yeah, this was that was
Professor
Professor Tim. He that might. I'm not gonna lie to you. That might be the most
That was
in-depth
it. Really, I was like,
science time I
I'm
think we've
sitting
ever
in the
had.
science class right now, and I was like, wow, where's my notebook?
It also helps that there isn't a lot of moisture in fruitcake due to the amount of dried ingredients that are in there. So, like I said, it's a lot of like dried fruits, candied fruits, and nuts in there. So lack of moisture helps slow the rotting process down.
Wow.
All that is the
boo-
reason why
yeah.
we do the booze.
Not just for flavors,
Yeah.
but the denaturation process. Yeah, it's super
The
important.
booze is important. So, here's the thing though, El. Fucking no one likes fruit.
Yes,
no
Tim.
one likes fruitcake. So why the fuck do we still eat fruitcake?
That's a great question. I also second that question.
Do you like my
Why do we
You
eat
like
that?
my structure? Do you like my structure this episode?
Absolutely.
Just going one by one here. So the shelf life is for sure one of the main reasons fruitcake rose to prominence
Okay.
as
Naturally.
a quote unquote beloved baked good. In 1913, the USPS added parcel delivery, and just like that, food was being sent all over the country.
There it is.
Yeah. And the shelf life of fruitcake made it a prime time food for sending across the
Perfect.
nation
Yes.
to your relatives via the post office. So this is sort of the rise, but also kind of becomes the downfall. And I'll mention that.
Oh?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So by the 1950s, fruitcakes were considered an American holiday tradition.
Yes.
A 1953 LA Times article called it a holiday must. And the Christian Science Monitor had a headline that read, "What could be a better gift than fruitcake?"
Okay.
A lot.
Well,
The answer's
a lot.
The answer's a lot.
I know a lot of other things that have a shelf life that are way better than fruitcake. But
Socks.
socks.
Socks are a better gift.
Yeah, I'd happily take socks. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But a survey by MasterCard in 1989
Yeah.
showed that
Oh, yeah?
75% of people considered fruitcake to be the worst gift they received.
Yes.
Oh, damn. Just a mere 30
Yes.
years later. What caused that downfall? Like I said, potentially just sort of
The alcohol.
Potentially just sort of the same thing that made it a tradition to begin with was the delivery. Like the dried, overly dense, flavorless fruitcakes being delivered year after year sort of made it
Year after year.
a meme gift before like the meme was like a terminology.
Oh wow.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like this.
Yeah.
I mean, it was made fun of on Johnny Carson. It just kind of became a late night punchline. Fruitcake did. Like, I mean, it's just like you had these companies that, again, they created these mass produced versions. So you weren't even getting like homemade ones anymore. You were getting these kind of bland, kind of mushed up, dried, not good fruitcakes as a gift because it was a tradition to send a fruitcake. But at one point, that fruitcake was like homemade. And
That's so. Yeah. No. What a wild.
yeah, and so the tradition itself probably led to its ultimate downfall. Or we all just kind of got tired of the taste of fruitcake.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And so do we talked about Moxie. That's a good like parallel to make of just like something that has a profile that people
yeah.
liked at one point but maybe aren't so fond of anymore. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that's the thing is our like what we want out of food changes and what we like out of food changes. You know, food trends happen, and something that is got this kind of bitter, sweet, kind of burnt taste going. You know what I mean? It's just not necessarily the most popular flavor profile.
No one's seeking. Yeah. No. Yeah.
So,
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
you know, there's a couple of reasons why that maybe fruitcake kind of became a thing that people shit on all the time. But let me tell you something, Elle, and this is our last thing because I'm wrapping up here.
Tim. Okay.
Fruitcake's not gone. Still around. So much so
It's definitely still around.
that over 2 million are still sold every year for the meme. For the meme,
can
baby. Buy it for the meme.
I don't know how legit it was, but I'm like, I think I saw that like the world population's gone to like 8 billion.
Mm-hmm.
So now you tell me that 2 billion of those people are like willingly buying fruitcake still
No,
and
no.
sending them to people?
No, million. Not that many. Not 2 billion. Million. With an M.
I'm saying 2 million of those people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They're still choosing to do. I'm flabbergasted.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you think it's just like the same people sending each other like fruitcakes?
It's for the meme. I don't know, man. Yeah, it could just be a
Yeah,
tradition.
you're probably right. That probably is.
Could just be a traditional thing. I'm not sure. I will say, though, I will for sure probably make a black cake this year.
No, listen, I can't believe I would be so down to try black cake. Sounds delicious.
I'll let you know when I'll let you know when it's done.
Thank you. I would come through.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that I would be willing to try a fruitcake if it's actually made like the way the way it was originally supposed to be.
Yeah. So Alton Brown has a recipe that you can find.
Our boy Alton Brown.
Alton Brown has a recipe that you can find,
pod.
and when I was reading it, it sounded really, really good. Didn't sound as good as like black cake because black cake's just like a different beast entirely.
Sure.
But as far as like fruitcakes go, it sounded really good.
I would be Alton Brown. Okay, he knows what he's doing in the kitchen.
So Elle, where you at?
Tim, I said 10 out of 70 like Christmas lights, and I'm like, wow. I'm willing to bump that up to 30 Christmas lights.
Right.
I haven't tried it yet or anything because like I think that's also part of it too. One of the things that I'm enjoying about fruitcake is that there are so many variations based off of country, which I always think it's fun when different countries essentially have the same type of food, but they have their own spin on it and how they either prepare it or whatever the ingredients are. Yeah, I just think it's really neat. And again, unexpected. So it's like some like Italy, I would try theirs. Mm-hmm. Portugal, I'd try theirs. It also just kind of
Romania's looked really good. It almost looked like a jam sort of thing.
Oh, with the jam swirl
swirled into the bread. It looked fantastic.
Yeah, I would love to try that. And again, like actually trying, like I said, a fruitcake that's made the way it was intended to be made, and not the store bought version. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing, and a lot of those versions that I mentioned are like more bread like. Romania's version is definitely more. It's got a filling essentially, but the outside is very much like the swirl. It's very pastry. It looked very much like a pastry. Where most of and again, you can actually check out. I'll link to stuff, and that should have all the images on those different sources and stuff that will be in the show notes. Yeah, it is surely amazing to see, but like I was just fascinated by the amount of like nutted fruited breads that kind of popped up.
I didn't expect that, yeah.
Because they're like a holiday tradition. So it's not fruitcake in the sense of how we understand fruitcake, but it is fruitcake essentially because it's, it's like their version of it. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It changed.
No, it was really cool.
It changed my entire outlook on fruitcake completely.
Same. Yeah. No, you did a great job of that. I for sure hear that.
And I'm kind of with you, right? Like I don't want to praise it all the way because like I can't do so without having tried like a proper one, but I am so intrigued to make a proper one.
Yes.
I want to make a black cake, and because the black cake is like almost pudding like texture. It's very dense. It's very dense.
Interesting. Okay.
And I want to try that, and then I also I want to make a fruitcake, and I want to try it out. I want to see how good it is. Like if you do it properly. It seems pretty involved, but I don't know. It sounds kind of fun to do. So, but we've been up by 20 Christmas lights.
We went. Yeah, that's a pretty solid. Yeah, you've got you got 2 full sets now.
And you do, and I'll take that as a win. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Another just button of an episode. I feel bad for my soda stuff. So my last 2 episodes have been very like concise. No frills.
You were telling a different story, Tim.
No frills this time around. No, guys, welcome to the end of the podcast. Did you hear that music at the top and Stinger?
Sounds pretty good.
I need to change this up. God damn it, guys! The music you're listening to right now, it's made by a friend of ours, Austin Martin. You can check him out on Spotify.
Real friend of the pod.
Or Apple Podcasts under Meridian Sky. So check him out. Again, links will be in the show notes. I also helped make this one, so I deserve some credit, and I will never not mention that I helped.
Yeah, no, you did. You did. It sounds good.
This
did a great job.
Thing. It's awesome. You should check him out. But also the new theme is cool. It's got more of a like curiosity vibe as opposed to our last 2, which were kind of fun vibes. Either way, check us out on Twitter at Where Does Food. I'm at Tim Wehunt.
I'm at El Chapo with 3 underscores between the L and the Chapo.
Good luck finding her.
Come on.
It'll actually be really easy because, again, it's in the show notes. You can check us out at wheredoesfood.com. We have a website. And
way better.
Yeah, you can see all the episodes. And you can go to anchor.fm
And?
/weird-food. And yeah, that's kind of home base. It's RSS feed, so you can plug that into any player that you like. Also, it's where we have our support button.
MySpace profile page.
Yeah, it's if you want to support us, you can. Just press that support button. It's just out of the kindness of your heart. If you want to support us in another way that isn't monetary, you can leave a review and rate us. Let us know how much you don't like the show or how much you do like the show. Yeah, you can do that, and it also helps us out tremendously. Another thing that helps us out tremendously is, I don't know, just tell people about it.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Just tell people about it. Just play it loudly. That's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Where Does Food. Have a great one. What a formal outro.
Yeah, that was a very formal. And then I put air horns. Yeah, have a great night.